When we experience anxiety, our instinct is usually to focus on whatever appears to be causing it. We worry about the upcoming flight, the presentation we must deliver, the phone call we're waiting for, the meeting scheduled for next week, or the uncertainty of an important decision. Our minds become consumed by the details of the situation. We replay conversations. We imagine worst-case scenarios. We try to anticipate every possible outcome in the hope that preparation will somehow protect us from discomfort. We tell ourselves that if only the event were over, if only the answer arrived, if only we knew what was going to happen, then we would finally be able to relax. But strangely, even when one anxiety disappears, another often takes its place. The presentation ends, yet we begin worrying about feedback. The flight lands safely, yet we start worrying about the next challenge. The phone call arrives, but our mind quickly finds a new problem to obsess over. This raises an important question. What if the real source of anxiety lies somewhere deeper? What if the external event is not the true cause, but merely the trigger? Instead of concentrating solely on the external situation, it may be worth turning our attention inward and examining how we truly feel about ourselves. This can be an uncomfortable exercise. Most of us are accustomed to looking outward when something feels wrong. We examine our circumstances, our relationships, our responsibilities, and our environment. Rarely do we pause and ask, what is my relationship with myself? How do I actually feel when I am alone with my thoughts? What assumptions am I carrying about my own worth? One often overlooked cause of chronic anxiety is self-hatred. This may sound like a dramatic phrase. Many people immediately reject it because they don't consciously hate themselves. They may not wake up each morning saying, "I hate who I am," yet self-hatred often operates quietly and subtly. It appears in constant self-criticism. It appears in perfectionism. It appears in the inability to accept compliments. It appears in the belief that everyone else deserves compassion while we deserve judgment. People who grow up with a poor sense of self-worth are often far more vulnerable to anxiety. When deep down we believe we are flawed, inadequate, or unworthy, it becomes easy to assume that the world is constantly preparing to expose, reject, or punish us. A person who feels fundamentally worthy may encounter challenges and think, "I'll do my best." But a person burdened by self-hatred often interprets the same challenge differently. They think, what if everyone discovers I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if this proves what I've secretly believed all along? The anxiety isn't only about the event. It's about what the event seems to say about their value as a human being. We may fear that others are secretly laughing at us. We might convince ourselves that we are about to fail, be humiliated, lose our job, or disappoint everyone around us. A simple mistake can feel catastrophic. A delayed text message can feel like rejection. A minor criticism can feel like evidence that we are fundamentally defective. Even when life appears to be going well, we struggle to relax because we expect disaster to strike at any moment. Part of us remains on high alert. Part of us is constantly scanning the horizon for danger. We become suspicious of good fortune. We struggle to trust happiness. When something positive happens, we may even think, this won't last. Something bad is coming. It's only a matter of time before everything falls apart. For someone who secretly dislikes themselves, anxiety becomes a form of anticipation. It is the mind preparing for the punishment it unconsciously believes it deserves. And because this expectation exists beneath awareness, it can feel completely rational. The anxious person may genuinely believe they are simply being realistic. They may not realize that their predictions are being filtered through years of self-doubt and self-judgment. The tragedy is that many people don't even realize they have low self-esteem. Self-criticism has been present for so long that it feels normal. The harsh inner voice becomes so familiar that it fades into the background, shaping every thought without being questioned. Imagine listening to a radio that has been playing the same station for decades. Eventually, you stop noticing the noise. It simply becomes part of the atmosphere. In much the same way, many people carry an internal voice that constantly whispers, "You're not enough. You should be better. You always mess things up. Nobody really wants you. You're going to fail." Because the voice has been there for so long, it no longer sounds like criticism. It sounds like truth. And that is what makes it so powerful. To uncover this hidden pain, it can help to ask yourself some honest questions. Do I genuinely like myself? Do I believe others are fortunate to have me in their lives? If I met myself as a stranger, would I think I was a good person? Growing up, did I feel that I deserved to exist, belong, and be loved? These questions may seem simple, but they often reveal profound truths. Many people spend years seeking approval from others without ever considering whether they have granted approval to themselves. Many people work tirelessly to earn love while secretly doubting that they deserve it. Many people achieve success, yet still feel like imposters because their deepest beliefs about themselves remain unchanged. If your answers lean toward disagreement, your anxiety may not simply be the result of stressful circumstances. It may be rooted in a deeper belief that you are somehow less worthy than others. A belief like this can influence every aspect of life. It can affect relationships. It can affect career choices. It can affect confidence. It can affect physical health. Most importantly, it can affect how safe we feel in the world. Because if we don't believe we deserve acceptance, then every interaction becomes a test. Every conversation becomes a potential threat. Every challenge becomes a possible confirmation of our fears. And if that is the case, logic alone will not heal it. No amount of reassurance can permanently solve a wound that exists at the level of identity. You can tell yourself 1,000 times that everything will be okay. You can collect evidence proving your competence. You can receive praise, recognition, and success. But if the deeper belief remains untouched, anxiety often finds a way back. The solution is not endless analysis of every worry. It is compassion, not superficial positivity, not pretending everything is perfect, but genuine compassion. The kind of compassion you would offer a frightened child. The kind of compassion you would extend to a dear friend who was struggling. It is learning to remind yourself that you are not fundamentally broken, that you have every right to exist, that you have every right to take up space, that you have every right to make mistakes, that you have every right to be imperfect, that the neglect, criticism, or rejection you experienced in the past was not proof of your worthlessness. Children often absorb painful messages about themselves long before they have the ability to question them. A careless remark, an absent parent, a critical teacher, a difficult environment. Experiences like these can leave lasting impressions. Over time, those impressions become beliefs, and those beliefs become the lens through which we interpret the world. But beliefs are not facts. They are stories. Stories that can be examined. Stories that can be challenged. Stories that can eventually be rewritten. You deserve the same kindness you so easily offer to others. Think about the patience you show a friend when they make a mistake. Think about the understanding you offer when someone is struggling. Think about the forgiveness you extend when someone is hurting. Now ask yourself, why should you be excluded from that compassion? Why should everyone else deserve understanding except you? The most surprising part of this insight is that when anxiety strikes, the answer may not be to battle the fearful thoughts directly. Instead, it may be to nurture the wounded part of yourself that believes those fears are justified. Rather than arguing with every anxious thought, try becoming curious about the pain underneath it. Ask yourself, what part of me is hurting right now? What part of me feels unsafe? What part of me believes it deserves this fear? These questions often reveal something important. Beneath anxiety, there is frequently vulnerability. Beneath worry, there is often sadness. Beneath panic, there's often an old wound waiting to be acknowledged. Sometimes anxiety is not really about the future at all. Sometimes it is a deeply ingrained habit of disliking ourselves, a habit learned over years, a habit reinforced by repetition, a habit that once served a purpose but no longer serves us now. And healing begins the moment we replace that habit with understanding, compassion, and self-love. Healing is rarely dramatic. It often begins with small moments, a kinder thought, a gentler response, a willingness to challenge old assumptions, a decision to speak to yourself differently, a choice to believe that your worth does not depend on perfection. Over time, these small moments accumulate. They create a new relationship with yourself, one built not on criticism, but on acceptance, not on fear, but on trust, not on punishment, but on compassion. The next time anxiety appears, pause and ask yourself, what if I am not afraid of what might happen? What if I am simply carrying an old belief that I am not worthy of peace? Sit with that question. Allow yourself to consider it honestly. Because sometimes the greatest breakthrough doesn't come from solving the problem in front of us. It comes from recognizing the hidden belief beneath it. That question alone could be the beginning of a very different relationship with yourself. A relationship rooted in self-respect instead of self-judgment. A relationship built on compassion instead of criticism. A relationship where peace is no longer something you must earn, but something you recognize has always been your birthright. And perhaps that is where true healing begins.